They call it a family reunion, but really, it's a talent show where the loudest people clap for themselves. That's what it's like being in my family. If you don't have a viral video, a job title with director in it, or at least a flashy new whip, then you're background noise. And I've been background noise since I could walk. My name's Devonte. I'm 31 years old, a line cook at a diner in downtown Chicago. The kind of place with checkered floors, chipped mugs, and regulars who tip in wrinkled ones and dad jokes. I clock in before sunrise, clean grease traps, run prep, get chewed out by the manager, and still somehow keep smiling. I make just enough to cover rent and dream on the side. Yeah, I dream. Not that anyone in my family ever asked me what those dreams are. If they had, I would have told them about the Brunch Gospel, a soul food spot I want to open one day. Grits so creamy they make you cuss. Fried catfish with cornmeal crust that sings when it hits oil. Peach cobbler with brown sugar edges that stick to your fork. The kind of food that makes you believe in second chances. But dreams cost money and time. Two things I rarely have. Instead, I've spent years working weekends, giving away my off days to help family move, fix their brakes, babysit their kids, drive them to doctor's appointments. I never said no, even when I wanted to. Especially not to my mom. She raised 3 of us mostly on her own. Me, my younger brother, and my cousin Kareem, who moved in after his mom got locked up. I've always been the glue. Not the star. Not the problem. Just the glue holding stuff together. But glue don't get recognition. Glue don't get applause. Last month, my brother got engaged. My mom threw a surprise party with balloons, catered food, and a cake that said, she said yes. The DJ played Drake. The wine was endless, and folks were crying. I was in the kitchen washing dishes most of the night. No one even remembered to say thank you. So when I heard the family reunion was coming to Chicago this year, hosted right in our city, on a Sunday, I saw a window. One small shot to do something for myself, and still serve. I offered to cook brunch. Not just bring a dish. The whole thing. Full southern spread. Shrimp and grits. Sweet cream pancakes. Fried catfish. Biscuits from scratch. All made by me, plated by me, served hot and in love. At first, my mom blinked like she didn't hear me right. You sure? That's a lot of food. I've got it, I said. I want to. She didn't fight me. Just shrugged and said, okay, baby. Just don't overdo it. But I already knew I would. Overdo it. Because this wasn't just eggs and bacon to me. This was something I could be proud of. Something that would finally let them taste what I've been building in my head for years. I started planning that night. Wrote out the menu by hand, tested biscuit recipes after work, and mapped out the shopping list like I was preparing for a mission. I told myself I'd spend no more than $400. That quickly turned into $640 after I added fresh Gulf shrimp, local cream, cage-free eggs, and a cast-iron fish fryer I'd been eyeing for months. I didn't care. This was my moment. And even if they didn't see it that way, I would. You ever feel like you're building something sacred in silence? That's what those days felt like leading up to brunch. I was chopping, marinating, kneading, seasoning, and praying. Not out loud, but in my head. Praying that maybe, just maybe, this was the day my family would see me. Not just the one who shows up early. Not just the helper. Not just the guy in the kitchen. But Devonte, the one with a dream. The one with flavor and fire and vision. They didn't know it yet. But they were about to eat the best damn brunch of their lives. And I was about to find out who really had an appetite for more than just food. I woke up at 4 a.m. the day of the reunion brunch. No alarm. Just my heart pounding like a bass drum. By 4:15, the kitchen smelled like garlic, smoked paprika, and ambition. I had soft jazz humming from a Bluetooth speaker and flour dust on my forearms before the sun even broke the sky. I moved fast but deliberate, like I was cooking for a room full of critics, not cousins. The grits were low and slow. The catfish was breaded and chilled for that perfect crunch. I made honey butter and peach jam from scratch. My biscuits rose in the oven like they were reaching for heaven. This wasn't catering. This was storytelling. Every plate was a chapter. Every spice was punctuation. I didn't even notice the burn on my wrist until 2 hours in. That's how locked in I was. That's what this meal meant to me. By 8 a.m., my apartment kitchen looked like a war zone. Dishes stacked high. Counters stained with grease and batter. But the food? It looked like art. I packed it carefully in insulated bags, then borrowed my neighbor's hatchback, filled the trunk with trays and napkins and mason jars full of house lemonade. The reunion was at my uncle's house on the south side. He had a big backyard and 2 long folding tables already set up. When I arrived, they were still blowing up balloons and trying to figure out the speaker system. And then I walked in, with trays in both hands, and the vibe shifted. "Ayo, Devontae brought the food," someone shouted. "Damn, that smells good." My Aunt Nia clapped. "Boy, you didn't have to go all out like this." But that's the thing. I did. Because if I didn't go all out, I'd just fade back into the background. Again, I set everything up under a canopy. Each dish labeled with a handwritten card. Hot honey catfish, cinnamon cream pancakes, buttermilk biscuits, grandma's grits. Folks started crowding around before I even finished setting the silverware. That's when my cousin Kareem came up with his phone out, filming. He laughed. "Yo, we got a whole chef in the family. Devontae, you trying to get on Food Network or something?" I half smiled. "Maybe." Then he turned to the camera and joked. "Y'all, he's single too. Just don't expect him to eat with you. 'Cause he's the help today." He laughed. Loud. Slapped my back. People laughed with him. And I froze. I kept plating pancakes, but my ears rang. My hands felt suddenly colder. The help? I wanted to believe it was a joke. Just Kareem being Kareem, loud, clowning, always needing to be the center of attention. But no one corrected him. Not one person said, "Hey man, that ain't cool." They just kept laughing and reaching for plates. My heart dropped a little when my cousin Jasmine called everyone over for group pictures around the food table. "Let's get everyone in," she said. "This is beautiful." I stepped forward instinctively, napkin in hand. But Jasmine waved her hand. "Wait, Devontae, can you move just a sec? We need a clean shot of the spread first." I moved. I watched from the side as they took pictures with MY food, smiling like it just fell from the sky. They arranged themselves in tiers, tallest in the back, kids in the front. No one turned to ask, "Devontae, where you at?" I stood there, stomach tightening, hands still covered in powdered sugar. And then Kareem, again, called out, "Somebody tag Devontae when you post. You know, shout out to our in-house chef." I clenched my jaw. "Thanks," I muttered. But they'd already moved on to mimosa selfies. I slipped back to the kitchen entrance and leaned against the wall. I'd been on my feet for 7 hours. I'd spent over $600, burned my wrist, skipped breakfast, and poured my soul into those dishes. And yet, I didn't have a seat. I didn't have a plate. I didn't have a name. To them, I was just the hands behind the curtain. When Kareem posted the group photo later, he captioned it, "Family over everything. Brunch game strong. No tag. No credit." That's when it hit me like a punch to the chest. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as function. The cook. The extra. The help. I left my tongs on the serving tray, grabbed my bag, and walked out the back gate while they laughed and toasted with champagne glasses. No one noticed. Not one person followed. I didn't cry in the car. I sat there in the front seat of my neighbor's borrowed hatchback, gripping the steering wheel with flour still on my knuckles. The windshield fogged up from my breath and the leftover heat of shame. I replayed every moment. The jokes, the laughter, the photos without me. I thought maybe, just maybe, someone would text. "Where'd you go? Hey Devontae, you okay? We miss you." Nothing. The group chat buzzed with selfies, food pics, fire emojis, and best brunch ever. Not one mention of me. That's when something in me cracked. I turned off the car, pulled out my phone, and opened the gallery. I scrolled through the photos I'd taken at 5 a.m. The perfect stacks of pancakes, the golden catfish, the glass jars of syrup and peach jam with gingham fabric lids I'd cut myself. The food looked like love, and I realized that love had been wasted. I opened Instagram. Caption: "Shrimp and grits at dawn. Biscuits baked by hand. $640 of savings. 7 hours on my feet. Not one plate made for me. Not one chair saved. Today, I wasn't family. I was the help. But this food, this heart, belongs to me. And I'm done hiding it." I hit post before I could second-guess myself. Then I turned off my phone and drove home. The hum of the road was the only applause I got that day. But the next morning, it all changed. I woke up to over 300 notifications. DMs, comments, shares. I blinked at the screen. Then again, one comment read, "Bro, this looks like a whole restaurant menu. Where do I order?" Another, "You were never the help. You're the chef." Someone tagged a Chicago food blogger, then a journalist, then a local soul food truck. By noon, my post had crossed 20,000 likes. I refreshed again and saw something wild. At Chief Food Crawl reposted my story. Caption: Soul food meets soul truth. Someone fund this man's brunch dream. We would line up for this. My hands shook. My phone rang, a number I didn't know. Is this Devontae? Yeah. This is Talia from Forked Up Magazine. I just saw your brunch post. We're doing a piece on under-the-radar Chicago chefs. Mind if I ask you a few questions? My mouth went dry. Sure. That night, I stood in my tiny apartment kitchen, staring at the same griddle that had nearly broken me. Now it felt like a launch pad. My neighbor knocked on the door, holding a six-pack of ginger beer. You the brunch guy, huh? He grinned. I laughed. First real laugh all week. He raised a brow. So, when's the next pop-up? I blinked. You think people would actually show up? He held up his phone. Your comments section already RSVP'd. I spent the next 2 days buying more supplies, this time with money from small Venmo tips that strangers had started sending me. Support Black chefs. Fuel the dream. Real food, real heart. I created an email, brunchbydevont@gmail.com. Then a menu. Then a date. Pop-up brunch. One Sunday. Limited seating. $25 a plate. I posted the flyer online. Sold out in 9 hours. 9 hours. The same amount of time I'd stood behind a grill, invisible, while my family ate off my labor. I got an email from a woman named Janelle, who ran a women-owned event space in Bronzeville. She wrote, Saw your story. I've got a commercial kitchen and 2 open Saturdays. Let's talk. It was happening so fast, my stomach could barely keep up. But then, a text popped up. Mom, why are people tagging me in your post? Mom, was that really about us? Mom, can we talk? I stared at it. Then the group chat buzzed. Kareem, bro FR? You really out here making us look bad. Aunt Nia, you could have just said something instead of going viral. That was when I realized they didn't miss me. They missed control. Because as long as I stayed in the kitchen, quiet, giving, they didn't have to see me. But now thousands of people saw me. And they hated that. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I opened a fresh Google Doc and typed the words. Brunch by Devontae, LLC Vision Plan. I didn't expect the blowback to hit like a frying pan to the face. It started with phone calls. My Aunt Nia left me a voicemail. Devontae, your little internet stunt was real unnecessary. All you had to do was say something. You made us look like we don't appreciate you. And for what? Some likes. Then a text from my cousin Kareem. So you're a victim now? Bro, that was a joke. Everyone laughed. Chill. The worst came from my mother. Not yelling. Not guilt. But this. You've always been so dramatic, Devontae. You ruin every nice thing. You think strangers know you better than we do. It hurt more than the just the help comment. Because it confirmed what I had feared. They didn't just overlook me. They erased me on purpose. And now that I had a voice, they wanted me silent again. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I stayed focused on the first pop-up brunch. The rented space in Bronzeville was small, exposed brick, metal counters, light that made the biscuits glow like gold. My friend Maya offered to help with setup. She'd seen the post, too. Been waiting for you to finally do something with those grits, she smirked. The night before the brunch, I barely slept. Not from nerves. From nonstop notifications. Local blogs were writing about me now. The cook who went viral after being treated like the help. DMs from other chefs, organizers, podcasters. One message stood out. Hey Devontae, I'm Darnell. I run a community kitchen initiative called Rise and Brunch. We give startup chefs a shot to cook for 50 guests once a month. Your story hit hard. Want to take the February slot? I said yes before I remembered I had no LLC, no website, no plan beyond the next 36 hours. But I had fire in my belly and 4 dozen biscuit tins in my back seat. The morning of the brunch, it was 27 degrees out, and still, people lined up early. Coats, scarves, eager eyes peeking at my laminated menu. Shrimp plus jalapeno cheddar grits. Sweet cream pancakes with pecan syrup. Buttermilk fried catfish. Devontae's peach jam and biscuit flight. My name was on every sign, every label, every receipt. It was the first time Devontae was celebrated without someone saying, oh, he's just helping out. I worked like mad, but this time with joy. With purpose. The music bumped. Maya ran orders. People took selfies with the food and tagged me. Chef Devante, they called me. Not the help. Not the cousin. Chef. And then it happened. My mom showed up. I spotted her from behind the counter, wearing her Sunday best. She stood in the back, watching. I froze. Maya whispered, "You want me to ask her to leave?" "No," I said quietly. "Let her see." My mom stayed for 20 minutes. Didn't eat. Didn't speak. Then she walked out. Later, I got a text. "You looked happy today. Hope you know we were proud of you. We just didn't say it the right way." I stared at it for 5 full minutes. Not an apology. Not even acknowledgement. Just a backhanded attempt to fold herself into my moment. I left the message unread. Because I wasn't doing this for her anymore. Or any of them. I was doing this for every quiet cousin who cleaned the kitchen while the rest of the family danced. For every invisible son who cooked while being forgotten. For every helper who deserved to be the headliner. That night, I collapsed onto my couch, still in my apron, sir everywhere. And yet, I felt unstoppable. The next morning, I got an email from Tavon and Rowe, a boutique marketing firm in the city. They wanted to brand me. Logo, website, even a pitch deck. Why? Because one of their interns had been at the brunch. And she said, "That man has a voice and a plate. You don't forget." It was happening. It was real now. But so was the pressure. Next came the whispers from family friends. Devante thinks he's better than us now. He got lucky with a social media moment. He's chasing clout. I stopped going to family dinners. Stopped replying to guilt-laced texts. Focused on the dream. I filed the paperwork, Brunch by Devante, LLC, and started planning for Rise and Brunch in February. But just when I thought I'd escaped the sabotage, I got a call. Blocked number. Chef Devante? Speaking. "We had an anonymous complaint submitted about your food safety standards. We're required to follow up." My hands clenched. I knew that voice. Not hers, but the intention behind it. Sabotage. My own family didn't just forget me. They were trying to stop me. The health inspector showed up 2 days later. I was prepping in the shared kitchen space I'd rented. Hairnet on, gloves tight, apron spotless. Flour dust hung in the air like tension before a storm. I thought it was a delivery at first, but then I saw the clipboard, the badge, the slow scan of the room like a predator casing its prey. "Chef Devante?" he asked. "Yeah. We received a complaint. Said you were storing perishables without refrigeration. Unsafe handling of raw proteins. Possible pest activity." I blinked. "Who said that?" "We can't disclose that. But we do need to inspect." I let him in. Opened the fridge. Showed him my inventory logs. Walked him through my ServSafe certification, the cooler temps, the rotation labels. He took photos. Nodded. When he left, he said, "Everything looks solid, chef. Good work. We'll close the complaint." But I knew. Someone wanted to rattle me. Throw a wrench in my gears before Rise and Brunch. I called Maya. "You think it's them?" she asked. "I know it is," I said. "Too much of a coincidence." She paused. "Devante, you still sure you want to invite any of them to the Rise event?" I let that sit for a moment. Because the old me, family first Devante, would have said, of course. They're still my people. But the new me? I wasn't so sure. The next day, Kareem posted a shady status on Facebook. "Social media fame don't make you a real chef. Y'all be too quick to crown folks these days." No tags. No names. But we all knew who it was for. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. Because my inbox had something better. A message from a food editor at the Chicago Tribune. "Chef Devante, we've been watching your journey. Would love to feature you in our Sunday series on rising chefs of color. Got time to talk?" I stared at the screen, jaw slack. And that's when it hit me. I was being tested. The success I'd scraped together, moment by moment, wasn't fragile, unless I let them make it fragile. So I replied with one word. "Absolutely." The interview happened that weekend. They sent a photographer, too. I plated my signature shrimp and grits with roasted poblano butter. Told the full story, not to bash my family, but to honor the road I'd taken alone. I didn't expect what came next. Sunday morning, the feature dropped. From brushed off to brunch king. Devante's rise from family outcast to soul food star. Within 2 hours, my phone exploded. My old manager from the diner called. "Devante, just read the article. Didn't know you were doing it like this. Let me know if you ever need more staff." DMs poured in. People asking for bookings. Venues offering kitchen space. Invitations to join food collectives, pop-up events, even a brunch docuseries pilot. Then a knock at my door. It was my cousin Tasha, one of the few who'd always stayed quiet, but never cruel. She held up a pie dish. Peach cobbler, I could smell it. Can I come in? She asked. I nodded. She stepped in slow, looked around my apartment like it was a gallery. I saw the article, she said. I'm sorry for not speaking up that day. I should have said something when Kareem made that joke. I swallowed the lump in my throat. You didn't laugh? I said. No, she replied. But I didn't stop them either. We ate cobbler in silence. Then she said, you need anything for rise and brunch, I'll be there. I'll wash dishes if you want. You deserve the spotlight. It was the first time I cried since the reunion brunch. Not loud, not messy, just one tear, sliding down onto the forkful of sweet peaches. I invited her to rise, but I didn't send a single other invite to family. Not Kareem, not Aunt Nia, not even my mother. They'd made their moment clear. Now it was time for mine. The week before the rise and brunch event, I was swamped. Pre-orders were through the roof. Vendors were tagging me in promos. Even Chicago Eats TV planned to cover it. But 2 nights before the event, my car window was smashed. They didn't take anything, just shattered the glass. Left the receipt from my viral brunch post taped to the steering wheel with a single word in red Sharpie. Enough. This wasn't just family shade anymore. This was sabotage. Threat. I stood there, fists clenched, blood pounding in my ears. Then, I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the damage, captioned it. They tried to break me. Didn't know I cooked best under pressure. Posted it. Went back upstairs. And kept cooking. Sunday morning. I hadn't slept. Not from nerves, but from preparation. Over 120 portions of shrimp and grits. 4 pans of sweet cream cornbread. Peach-glazed catfish fillets layered in warming trays. Homemade jam. Collard greens slow-simmered overnight in smoked turkey stock. I triple-checked every label, every pan, every garnish. Tasha showed up first, as promised. Hair tied up, wearing a brunch crew tee I hadn't even given her. I brought gloves and backup foil, she said, just in case. Then came Maya, my designer friend, carrying the last of the signage and menus. One banner read, Rise and Brunch, Soul Food for the Soul. Chef Devante. At 10:07 a.m., the first guest arrived. By 10:42 a.m., the line snaked around the block. A local saxophonist played outside the pop-up venue. Inside, people snapped photos of the dishes, tagged me, shared stories. Found my new favorite chef in Chicago. Devante's food tastes like home, but better. He deserves a Michelin star, no joke. Then a couple walked in, mid-50s. Polished. Confident. Are you Chef Devante? The man asked. I am, I said, wiping my hands. I'm Gerard from Chicago Food Collective, he said, offering a card. And this is Amina, our events director. We're scouting chefs for a national brunch tour. Your story made our radar. But your food. He took a bite of the shrimp and grits. Paused. Closed his eyes. This food sealed it. Amina leaned in. We want to talk business. After the crowd clears. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. You forgot where you came from. Be careful who you let gas you up. No name. No ID. But I didn't need one. That voice had the fingerprints of family, jealousy, dressed up as warning. I looked around. Everything was running like clockwork. Happy faces. Empty plates. Full hearts. But I felt that old flicker. What if they show up? What if they try something? And then I saw her. My mother. In a wide-brimmed hat. Standing at the back. No ticket in hand. No RSVP. Just watching. I froze. Tasha noticed. You okay? Yeah, I said too quickly. She's here. Tasha followed my gaze. Her jaw clenched. You want me to ask her to leave? No, I said. Let her watch. She stood in the back for nearly 20 minutes. Then walked out without saying a word. That should have hurt. But it didn't. Because 5 minutes later, the Chicago Eats crew arrived. Camera rolling. Mic in my face. Chef Devante. The reporter smiled. How does it feel to go from family brunches to feeding the whole city? I looked straight at the camera. Tastes like freedom. The crowd clapped. Some raised mimosas. One woman near the back wiped a tear. The next hour passed in a blur of orders, compliments, interviews, and photos. A toddler danced to the live music. 2 teachers booked me for their school fundraiser. A couple asked if I did weddings. As the last plate left the table, I stepped into the kitchen space for a breath. That's when I saw him. Kareem. Standing in the alley behind the venue. Hands in pockets. Hoodie up. Waiting. I walked out. Quiet. Calm. He looked up. You did all this, huh? He asked. I nodded. You really made something out of that pity post. I didn't take the bait. He kicked at a rock. You know Aunt Nia thinks you're fake now, right? Says you ain't been back to a family dinner since. I stared at him. They never invited me back. He laughed once. Dry? Well, you changed. No, I said. I just stopped accepting scraps. He looked like he wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Then he said, You still making that peach jam? I tilted my head. You asking for a jar? He shrugged. It's for Grandma's recipe book. I'm trying to retype it. Figured I'd include yours. For a second, I almost softened. Then I remembered the smashed window, the receipt, the red Sharpie, and I remembered that silence. That brunch table without my name. No, I said. That jam stays with me. I turned and walked back inside. When I got back to the kitchen, there was an envelope on the counter. Tasha handed it to me. Someone from the food collective dropped this off before leaving. Inside, a $3,000 deposit for the National Brunch Tour, a contract, and a handwritten note. Great chefs cook with flavor. Legends cook with fire. You've got both. Let's take this nationwide. My hands shook. Tasha grinned. Looks like Rise and Brunch just got wings. And for the first time in years, I believed it. Not because my family believed in me, but because I finally believed in myself. A week after the pop-up, I got an email from the tour organizers. 3 cities confirmed. Seattle, Atlanta, and New York. They called it the Rise and Brunch Soul Circuit. I was still working 12-hour days, juggling requests, designing merch, finalizing menus, but I felt alive. Like I wasn't just cooking food anymore. I was cooking through something, out of something, beyond something. But just as I was locking in the final venue, my landlord called. Devontae, we got an issue. That permit you asked for? It's been flagged. Flagged how? I asked, already knowing this wasn't good. Anonymous complaint. Something about unsafe food handling. Health code concerns. My stomach dropped. I kept my space spotless. My licenses were legit. But an anonymous complaint during my biggest moment? I didn't even have to guess. That night, I texted one person. Me. Cut it out. You know I'm clean. Unknown. Shouldn't serve what you didn't grow. The audacity. Kareem always hated that I didn't follow his street route. That I didn't move like real hustlers. He once said, caterings for moms with folding tables. But now I was on the verge of a national tour, and he was still stuck flipping electronics and souring family barbecues. I showed up to the next meeting at City Hall with every permit, every invoice, and a binder so thick they had to get a second chair. I passed inspection. Complaint dismissed. But the real test came that Sunday. I got a DM from a food blogger named Elle. Saw the pop-up pics. My mom cried looking at your catfish platter. Can I feature you on my YouTube brunch doc? I said yes. She rolled in with a 2-person crew and fire questions. When did you know this wasn't just a meal, but a movement? What makes your brunch different? What would you say to people who never saw your worth? Halfway through the interview, my phone lit up with another message. This time, from Aunt Nia. I heard you're leaving town. Your mother wants to say goodbye before you go. Come to the house. One last family dinner. I stared at it for a long time. My gut said, don't go. But something deeper, maybe pettiness, maybe hope, said, let them see who I am now. So I went. Wore a pressed black button-up. Hair neat. Clean boots. When I walked in, silence dropped. They weren't expecting me to look like that. The cousin who once said I was just the help looked me up and down, then looked away. Aunt Nia's smile was thin, forced. My mom didn't even rise from the couch. You look busy, she said. I nodded. Booked through April. Dinner was baked chicken, overcooked greens, boxed mashed potatoes. They didn't ask me to cook. They didn't ask about the tour. They just made small talk, all while side-eyeing my phone when it buzzed. Toward dessert, my mom finally said, So, you really leaving? Just like that. I'm not leaving, I said. I'm arriving, somewhere that sees me. No one clapped. No one raised a glass. Kareem smirked. Hope you remember us when it falls apart. That was my cue. I stood, reached into my jacket, pulled out 10 sealed envelopes, laid them one by one on the table. Each was labeled with a name. Inside, a laminated menu from the pop-up. Handwritten notes tailored to each person. Each one read, Thanks for the silence. It taught me to hear my own voice. They stared, Confused. Offended. Quiet. I turned to leave. Kareem called after me. This you flexin'? Real ones don't burn bridges. I paused at the door. Real ones don't build tables just to be left standing, I said. I'm done bringing food to places that won't offer me a seat. And I left. Walked out into the crisp Chicago night. As I rounded the corner, my phone buzzed again. This time, new email. Subject: Brunch Circuit Final Confirmation. Hey Chef Devante, New Orleans just joined the tour. That's 4 cities. Pack your knives. We're rolling. I laughed out loud. On the sidewalk. Alone. But I wasn't lonely. Because for once, I wasn't chasing applause or permission. I was walking toward my own name on the banner. Rise and brunch, Chef Devante. No family toast. No borrowed recipes. No waiting to be seen. I already was.